For those who are jumping from the XRP ship at a time when we are preparing to explode, congrats. Hope you won't regret your end decision and you may find peace. Why I say that? Because this is not coming from Ripple, the company, directly. It's coming from Forbes saying the world is changing, right? In for cross-border payments, and the words are similar to that of what Ripple executive states. And if you look at what's happening around the globe, central banks and asset managers, you will understand that that change is correct. So as we enter into UN's United Nations agenda for the sustainable future, now that's fundamental side of it, right? Everything is changing. So when we enter into a sustainable future targeting 2025 to 2030, you don't actually need assets which eat a lot of energy. Now that's when we say digital asset revolution beyond Bitcoin. Now it's not only about Bitcoin, it's way much more than that for other assets like Ripple's XRP, which has the potential to change the world. Now when we see assets like Tron, for example, moving to the upside, when the market is going to the downside, it's kind of tempting to jump from this particular ship which is sinking and to jump into an asset which is appreciating in price, right? So if we look at that, that's the technical side of the price fluctuation, right, of assets moving to the upside and downside. Now if you compare the Tron here with the same time frame chart of XRP, this is what you are going to see. Something similar, something different, but it's ready for explosion. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. If you are receiving value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And to support the channel and to receive more value for your portfolio, you can use Patreon, PayPal or XRP wallet address in the description below. Now jumping back into the charts first, this is the Tron chart, right? It went to the all-time high back in late 2017, early 2018. Then it retraced back. It got supported at this particular area, right? Then it broke below that. There was a capitulation that you can count as one for capitulation. Then again 2, right? Then at the same bottom, if you look at this, we followed that particular resistance support line and then broke below that, but immediately went above that. So that was the third one, right? First year, second year, and the third one here. Now here when we are moving to the upside, keep in mind we broke above a long-term trend line resistance. If you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we tried 5 times and then went above that. So let's look at how XRP charts look like. It went to the upside, say around 3.8, then came back down around 0.35, bounced, then came back to the same level, retested that couple of area, but stood near to that bottom, meaning near to that of support, and broke below that. So that's the capitulation number 1. Then we found a support here around 0.25, 0.26 area, and we were kind of giving dead cat bounce, moving in that area. And if we actually focus, what we understand is we maintained that level of support, and then we tried to the upside couple of times, but we were being resisted. And you can see that it's not going to the upside, instead it's making lower highs. But at the same time we can see that the bottom is similar. Then what we got here was the capitulation 1, and here again capitulation number 2. So that is like the movement what we actually got there, right? And then we moved in that area, made below that support level, but immediately came back above that level. And then similar to that of Tron here, we just broke above the long-term resistance trend line and we are above that. Now the difference here is, say Tron, it went above that, it went above the moving average zone, then went above the moving average, got corrected, but stayed way above the moving average. It didn't even touch the moving average and bounced from there. Now if you look at XRP, it went above the moving average, came back and started retesting that moving average, and then it came into that moving average zone. Say the price is now within the 220-day moving average. Now, yes, I agree that we are seeing 20-day is going to cross the 200-day moving average, which is kind of a positive symbol which we didn't get for a long time. If you look, that happened way back, right? So it crossed to the downside here by late 2018, and from that time we were way below that. Now this is on a 3-day chart, and we are going to cross the 20 to the upside from the 200-day moving average, which is bullish. Now here for Tron, when that's all happening, if you look at the RSI and the MACD, MACD is bouncing to the upside instead of crossing to the downside. That's bullish. RSI is moving to the upside, getting into the all bought zone again, meaning buyers are getting ready. Here, if you look at that, what you see is a different thing, right? The price is going down, getting corrected here, and at the same time RSI is moving to the downside. Now if you actually take a line and then draw a line here connecting these bottoms here of the RSI, what you get is that we may correct a little bit more and then reach this particular support line for the RSI, or even we may remain in the same price range for a little bit of time until RSI finds a bottom. Now that's for RSI. If you look at the MACD just crossed to the downside on a 3-day chart for XRP. Now that's not actually a bullish symbol, but that's on a 3-day chart in comparison with Tron, right? Still, we are having one thing. If you are now, as an investor, what will you do to make profit? You would be buying an asset which is low in price. Now what you will do to take actual profit? You will take profit from an asset which is moving up. So for me, it makes sense if Tron is already moving to the upside. Say if you measure from the bottom, from the breakout, Tron already went around 200% to the upside, and if you measure from the bottom, that would be like 500%. If you look that for XRP from the bottom till this top, it's still only 175%. So for me, comparing the low side, which is the bottom which we put in before, say early March, right, we are still way closer to that bottom. It's only below 200% to the upside, and there is a lot more upside. So if you are looking at the ROI, that's going to be bullish for me. Now I showed you a little bit of bearish momentum coming in on a 3-day chart, right? Don't be cautious. Yeah, you can remain cautious, but understand other technical side as well. Now in the MACD, we are seeing that we are going to the downside. We got a bounce, we are moving to the downside. The volume is still remaining to the downside. But if we look at the RSI, we are kind of finding a bottom, and the possibility remains in the RSI and the price that we are making a double bottom. Now we all were looking at this double top, we were making that, but we didn't actually went way further, right? Instead, here we are trying to give a double bottom, which is a bullish sign. And what really happens is, if you are actually looking at a double top, usually this price and this price, comparing the highs, it should be a little bit lower high. That's the textbook double top. Now here, if you look, you're actually getting a textbook double bottom. If it is bouncing from here, and then you can consider the 0.3 level as its neckline area, and if we are moving above neckline area, you can actually take 0.5 movement, that is aiming towards 0.35. Now RSI is also giving you a symbol that it is reaching that previous level of bounce, which can be acting as a support. Now that line is also touching to the long side. If you zoom out, you will find that it is remaining as a respected support trend line. Now that's on our daily chart. If we look on a 3-day, zooming in a bit, getting more clarity, what we find is something like this. Yes, the RSI is moving to the downside. It has to move a little bit down to get towards that support, but the price may not do that because the price is already at a smaller level of support. 20-day moving average is acting as a support, meaning buyers are interested to buy when the price of XRP is reaching at 20-day moving average on a 3-day chart. Now that's, yeah, I agree, on a 3-day chart. If you look at the same thing on a monthly chart, the story is entirely different. Now on a 3-day chart, you saw a little bit of bearishness, right? But on a monthly chart, you are seeing bullish indicators. The RSI is still within the range. It's not negative, it's not positive, but it just bounced from the bottom side So we are stepping away from that territory, and it's somewhere near or above the neutral area, so that's a bit bullish in RSI. If you look at the MACD, we already are getting across. We are just crossing to the upside. We are still gaining traction, gaining momentum, finding buyers. But the price is looking really bullish, because if you look at the bottom we put down here and the support line from the long time, we are still maintaining that support, and we just broke above this particular area of support resistance, which is a critical thing when we are looking at technicals on chart. Right now, many don't actually look at charts in longer term, short term, they don't actually look in that perspective. So what I would like to highlight is, if you are just watching at the market price fluctuation and saying, oh god, XRP went 7% down, XRP went 10% down, you should first go in, zoom in, say find 12-hour chart, 4-hour chart, 2-hour chart, whichever you understand well, right? So for me, if I go into 1-hour chart and all, it will be too much of volatility, the picture won't be that clear. So if I step back little by little, go into say 1-hour chart, 2-hour chart, 4-hour, 12-hour, I start getting points which kind of shows me that the price is moving in this particular pattern, in this particular time frame. So in this one, it's a 12-hour chart. If you look at that, you can find a support line, resistance line, both intact, right? So this particular resistance line is still pushing the price to the downside, whereas this support line is pushing it to the upside. Whenever the price is reaching that support line, you can see the wicks, buyers are stepping in, pushing the price to the upside. So it is still a bullish flag, but when the bullish flag is being extended too much, the push to the upside gets a little bit reduced. Say for example, we were targeting around 70% from the break to the higher, but now it may be 60. We don't know. We'll have to focus on that. Now that's on a shorter time frame, right? We went into a 12-hour time frame to see this. Now as we look at that on a real time, say if we move on to a 4-hour chart, we can see that the price is still respecting that level and bouncing to the upside. So as we just talked about the double bottom here, if you look, we just created one bottom there, and then we are moving here. Now this one, as I told you, is just above that line. So if I put this line here, you can see that it is not there, right? Meaning this one is lower low and this one is a higher low there, but it looks similar when you are using your naked eye in that manner without an indicator. But you're getting something similar in the RSI. You made a bottom here and the next bottom is here. So if you look at that, that is a positive divergence from where we are, right? If you connect these two, you are getting something similar in the MACD, RSI and the price on a shorter time frame. So that was 4-hour. We checked the 12-hour, we got this one, and then we moved into a 4-hour and we are watching this one. Now, only doing technical analysis doesn't actually give you the holistic picture. For that, we do need to look at the fundamental side as well, right? So understanding both the fundamental analysis and technical analysis, trying to correlate between them gives you a direction, makes you really stay motivated for the long run. Because as an investor, you're not looking for short-term benefits. If you are, then you are a trader. You should be looking at patterns, trends, not the fundamentals. You don't care about the fundamental, what that coin stands for or how it's going to be in the future, but you're just looking for profits on a shorter time frame. You would be making multiple trades in a shorter time frame gap using different indicators and all. For that, we use our Patreon group. I post regularly now. Yeah, I couldn't post yesterday due to some personal issues with the typhoon Meshek and all, but we usually put that. If you look at one of the chart I put recently was for say silver. I was arguing that I'm taking out majority of my silver positions on trading basis, right? Positions which I was trading, I took out my profits because I believed that the price is going to go to the downside. And from there, if you look at that, the price actually went a little bit up, reached 29. I put out that around 28.30, 40 something. And then the price retraced back below to 27. So that was around 200 pips for those who sold, right? Those who are selling that. Now, if you were looking for a buying position, I'm not yet a buyer for silver. I'll actually post that in the Patreon group in the description. On the fundamental side, what we are really looking here is beyond Bitcoin now. Yes, long-term viability is what we are talking about, and that shows, digital assets are something similar to that of fiat currencies. Recently, it came from US regulators that whatever transactions it be, let it be even microtransaction, it is considered as something being used instead of fiat currencies, means they are going to tax that. One point behind that is they are allowing that, comparing the trillions of dollar market and looking at micro payments. Why? Because they understand this is the future where we are headed, and there is no change in that. Now Michael sent me this one, and it shows how we are changing. And as I've been highlighting in last couple of weeks, couple of months, while we move through economy due to crisis COVID-19, we understand that the economy is being pushed down. We went through all the GDP measures and all, but now what is changing? Everyone wants faster payment. Okay, we agree that Fed was working on that, UK was working on that, worldwide everyone, central banks were working on that, but now they have a bit of fire at their bottom. Why? Due to this economic crisis, due to the health crisis, now they want to somehow push the price to the upside. Say if you look at US, they're trying to do that in the stock market when the people are homeless, they don't have food, shelter and all, but the stock market is going to the upside. And if you look at the profit taking by huge guys, say Apple guy, I think he took out his profit when it went around $2 trillion the market cap, and then after 1 week the price started falling downside, and in just 1 week that went $1 trillion to the downside. Whoa, that was huge, right? So those guys are taking profit, and investors like Warren Buffett is moving from the region, right? They're moving from the banking region and entering somewhere else. Why? I'll say, as Warren always stated, he doesn't understand technology and he never invests in that. So it's cool for him that he don't understand that and he don't touch that. So if you do understand the technology and how it is evolving, look at the payment space. It is going to be interesting. Why? We are looking at real-time payments and settlements in the era of Ripple and XRP. Now we are going to say that, not in the era of central bank digital currency. Why? Because Bank of England put this one out showing reinventing the wheel. They are looking at central bank digital currency. Okay, cool. But when you look at that, you will understand that they all need a bridge asset, the so-called stable coin. They are using that word, risks that the so-called stable coin presents. They are looking at that. In the previous document we went through that and showed you stable coin means not the stable coin which you're thinking, looking at, which is pegged to a fiat currency, because when the fiat is going to be depreciated in the coming hyperinflation or inflation, extended inflation, that won't be working well. So you need either a gold back or an asset backed stable coin, which can be acting something like central bank reserves would be looking at that. They would be putting out something similar to that of a synthetic digital currency. Now synthetic central bank digital currency, we went through that in detail using different documents, research publications and all, so I won't go deep into that. So one understanding here is, one alternative to a private stable coin is a central bank digital currency. So you can just kick out the stable coin, the private stable coin, when the central bank digital currencies are there for the domestic transfers or the international one. Because why you need a stable coin when the central bank digital currency is still there? If you are looking at USDC from Circle and others, there is potential. While they have great potential, it doesn't actually mean they can reshape the entire financial system when central bank digital currencies are there, because central bank digital currencies need an efficient bridge asset. And at that time we actually see this real-time cross-border payments. Innovations are here, and it is going to cut trillions from global financial friction. We have to understand, meaning when you are exchanging from one currency to another, say pound sterling to USD, if you are doing that to dollar, you actually have to go through that forex change, take that buy sell rate, look at that, look at this, and use the chain of banking system, which is the correspondent banking system, right? Now even though it is a high volume corridor, it still has a lot of friction. That's why it costs more to send a bank transfer. If you are doing your wire transfer, you understood that. Now the payments era is entering into a new step where payments companies, banks all are competing to get more customers. And how would they get more customers? They have to provide better experience. One thing for that is a real-time execution of that payment, and something associated with that is the payment. So if the payment associated with your execution of that remittance, you don't want to actually pay something, even if they are giving you an instant settlement and asking for 10-20% of fee, that won't be good in the long run. Yeah, on an emergency case basis you may execute that, but not after that, right? That's the common sense there. So when we look at the future, we are looking good. Ripple and XRP is always looking good. Now when we look at the general change in the cryptocurrency market, it's staying positive now. 2 years back it was all about the Silk Road and banning crypto and all, but now world is changing. BIS, IMF, UN, all the supranational organization along with smaller organization are understanding the potential and the profit which they can make from this in an era when everything is going down. So what will they do? They'll enter into this market and try to take out the profit. And then you see 73 million XRP sent through Ripple's unannounced Asian ODL corridor. Wow! So it's an unannounced corridor. Still, 73 million XRP is sent. Someone is preparing to start an ODL corridor. Something going to be announced soon. We can actually think that it is Japan to South Korea. If you understand, Japan is already huge on XRP. South Korea is preparing itself for the central bank digital currency era. If you saw last video, right? They are looking to, the central bank is looking to partner with a financial institution who understands cryptocurrency to enter into the central bank digital currency space. So what if that is Ripple? We don't know that, but that's just speculation, right? And that's what investors do. Look at the fundamentals, technicals, analyze that and come to a calculated guess. Guys, hope you received value from this video, and if you did, please do support the channel. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.